Looking good. And this is episode 16, am I right?
Episode 16, yep. Episode 16. We're just waiting for a few more people to connect. We're also connecting to on YouTube, Facebook. Make sure everyone else is watching because we are live on YouTube as well, and Facebook. Is there any other platform aside from the
YouTube,
three?
Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram, okay. All three.
All right, it's looking like we are live on Facebook, live on YouTube.
Sounds good. And this time I'm connected with the AirPods, so no issues with that.
Awesome.
So what's going on, everyone? Good evening once again. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us, for taking the time as always on a weekly basis. Even for those who are here for the first time or aren't here every week, just so you know, we're on YouTube every week. We upload the videos, shortly after we finish the live. Last week was a blessing. I thought I was going to be on by myself, but then Pastor Carlos made it. He made it. Thank God for that. We try our best not to miss, and if we ever do miss a live, we do have a backup. The backup would be to pre-record a video and upload it. But because we're more focused on, engaging with you all, we try to avoid the whole pre-recording. In the near future, we are considering the pre-recording since we will have more going on with the platform, not outside of it. But, we'll definitely give you the notice eventually.
Yeah, and whatever pre-recorded stuff we end up doing here in the future will just be to give you guys just a little bit more to help you guys get through your week, So just know the plan is for us to be able to connect with you guys on Thursdays like we've been doing. But we know that sometimes people need during the week as well. So this will hopefully get to pick you up during the week.
Yeah, and the whole setup that we have going is, even though we'll have pre-recorded sessions, we are going to have other sessions as well, like outside of Instagram. But, we'll discuss the details once we finalize everything. Julie, I'm glad to hear all is good. Definitely, thank God. Yes, glad to hear all is well down there. We're dealing with some, bipolar weather. One day it's hot up here in New York, then it's cold, then it's raining, then it's snowing, then back to sunny. It's crazy.
Going through the same here, just no snow, so at least we got that.
I wish that was the case up here, but it's all right. Pretty soon we'll be able to change that. So, all right, let's get started. I think we've given enough time, and eventually, some other people will join. But once again, we're on every Thursday. For those who are on now for the first time, we're on every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast. And this platform is good for all ages. We encourage adults, young adults, children to join and listen in because it's very important. All the topics that we touch, every topic that we put on our platform, all the discussions that take place, the testimonies that have taken place, it's been amazing, And again, we're on episode 16, so we've been at it for a while. It's been a true blessing for us, but I hope that it's also been a blessing for you as well. And we're working really hard to just continue, just to keep pushing this platform and just to keep providing more information, to keep providing the motivation, keep providing the inspiration, just that push that you need to get you through the day, to get you through the week, the month, even the whole year, whatever it is. If you ever have to play back any videos because you just need a reminder, we have all the videos on YouTube. If you just need, someone to talk to, like just to send a message, someone to hear you out, you need some clarity, whatever it is, support, just anything in general, feel free to send us a message, text, via direct message, either way, we're here to help. We're here. We're in the same battle. We're here to help each other, to support each other. This is what this platform is all about. As we mentioned in the past episodes, this platform is made up of, the struggle, the miseries, the blessings. It's made up of everything, not just one thing. The good and the bad. I think that pretty much summarizes what this platform is made of. The good and the bad. You're gonna hear a little bit of everything on this platform. Um, so again, we appreciate everyone that joins us on a weekly basis, man. That really does mean a lot. That does mean a lot. Carlos, anything you wanna say before we get started, or before I just mention a little,
Now
to
the
basically give it a lead?
the biggest thing is just, the same encouragement that we tend to give people week in and week out. When we tell y'all that the DMs are open, you got the lines of communication is there open for you guys to be able to have somebody hear you out, give you the assistance that you need, be able to give you a word that's going to help to uplift you. Know that it's legit. Sometimes you have to try people at it to see if they're legit. So just know that there's no better way to find out other than when you're going through it and you're testing somebody on it to see if they're being true to the word that God has put in them. So unquestionably, go ahead and send that out. I just want to give you that encouragement, because the few that do, when they see that you're legit, it's like sometimes that's life changing, because a lot of people, talk the talk, but they don't do what they're called to do. And we definitely want to show you we're much different than that.
Exactly, and just so people can get a good understanding of, just want to take a little piece of what you said. You're gonna find a lot of people uh, doing what we do, right? Obviously, we all have unique ways of doing things, but there's a lot of people that would try and give you the advice, try to basically preach and not apply what they're preaching, right? Now, let me go ahead and say this. This is a platform where we're very transparent. There's been many times in the past episodes where I've even admitted that there was a reason why I wasn't doing this before, is because I had the mindset and I knew where I wanted to go, but I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't applying what I would have spoken at the time, you know? And because I had been applying it, and, it's not easy, it's definitely a tough walk. It's a tough process. It's not easy at all, but I have been applying, and I can actually, deep down inside, I feel good about the topics that we discuss, the experience that we put out, because if we're talking about it, it's because we've gone through it. Now, we're not going to discuss something that we haven't gone through. And if someone testifies, if they talk about a situation or they bring it up on our platform and we know nothing about it, guess what? We're learning from it. We can still try and help and support. But we would, like, let's say if I haven't gone through it, Pastor Carlos would be the best one to go ahead and, support you on that, or vice versa. We're here to help each other. We're not here to cheat anyone, to mislead anyone. We're here to make it happen. We're here to keep us above water, remind you that, prayers are heavy, that God is always there. We're here to give you that push, that reminder. So I wanted to put that out before we get started. Lodi, what's going on,
Most
Lodi?
definitely.
What's up? I hope the princess is there right next to you.
What's good?
Daddy
What's
loves
good?
you. And Theo loves you, of course. So, like I mentioned earlier, today is gonna be more of a. I don't want to say a freestyle. It's not gonna be a set topic. I basically want to connect with everyone that's watching. I want to see how everyone's feeling, how their day, their week is going. Are there any situations that you're dealing with right now that are out of control? Are there any situations that you have control of or had control of? And, did you do anything to improve, or, were you part of the solution, or did you cause the problem? Just in general, I want to go ahead and touch that topic. I was all over the place this week. I was thinking about the struggle. I was thinking about the process, making a way, paving a way. But one thing that did come to mind and I had to do, you know, a little bit of research to make sure that I get the term right and actually connect it with life, is pain management. Pain management. Now, for those pain management, what is pain management? There's a medical term for it, right? Which I want to read this. The medical term is it's an aspect of medicine and healthcare involving relief of pain in various dimensions, from acute and simple to chronic and challenging. Where do you think I'm going to go with this? Life experiences. We can go ahead and connect it, right? We experience a lot. We've been dealing with trauma. You know, we've gone through obstacles. Some people can't get past the obstacles. Some people are still stuck, you know, in the past, still stuck with that situation, still not accepting, you know, still being denied, whatever the case is. What are you doing to deal with that pain that you feel because of what's going on in your life or because of what happened in the past in your life? What are you doing to deal with that? Now, I want to go ahead and testify. Like, I want to go straight to it.
Let's go.
In the past, I've used the excuse to have a drink, to drink whenever I'm dealing with so much. In the past, I've had the excuse, you know, instead of tackling the situation, I would actually prolong by having a drink, right? Or by going out and disconnecting. Like, you know what? I need some time for myself. And time for myself should have been one thing, but it was actually another. What am I trying to say by that is I was doing the wrong things in order to deal with that situation. What in reality, what I had to do was deal with the situation like forward, just tackle it face forward. And whatever the consequences are after that, if it's going to take long for me to solve that problem, whatever it is, like the past issues, right? Relationship, a job, you know, charges, whatever it is. What are you doing to deal with that situation? You know, many people, even during the pandemic, they lost their jobs, right? The quick solution, you know, thank God, when you lost your job at that time, was to collect unemployment, right? That's a huge blessing. If you lost your job, you have no other choice. You can either look for it, or while you're looking for a job, collect unemployment. Now, the question is, and this is personal. No one has to like jump and you know answer this. What were you doing with the money that you were receiving from unemployment? Did you get too comfortable with that money? Did you use it in the wrong ways? And when I say the wrong ways, all the way from habits, things that weren't necessary, the unnecessary, you know, purchases, whatever that is. What were you doing? And if you did the wrong thing, did you learn from that? What are you doing now to fix that? Right? In my case, when I testified, you know, years back, when I would quickly go to alcohol to drink, right, all the time, it was because I wanted to disconnect. It didn't do me any good because one, it would take so long for me to learn from those lessons, from those mistakes, those errors, right? It took me so long because I wasn't accepting a lot of things. So I can actually testify to that. Now, if you look back in your life or right now, whatever it is that you're going through, relationship, at your job, in your home, what is it exactly that you're doing to fix the problem? Are you numbing the pain, or are you actually dealing with the pain? When you numb the pain, all you're doing is causing delay. When you're dealing with the pain, you're starting the healing process. So I want everyone to listen carefully to that. I learned this the hard way. Whenever you numb the pain, however it is, substance or, you know, or simply, you know, video games or on a computer, on social media, it doesn't have to be substances only. It's in general. You're delaying what's in front of you and what's actually holding you back. And for many of us, or I would say most of us, or hopefully few, it has stunned our growth. And the reason why we're where we're at today is because of our past decisions, our past habits, you know. So I want everybody to really, really think about that. I don't want to miss this message here. Gotti, what's going on? Thank you for joining us. Um, Appreciate it. Hope all is well with the family, the kids. God bless you. All right, so Julie Jules, me, I paid my rent the whole year and started my business. I saw it was a blessing during the pandemic. You basically covered yourself for a whole year. That's the fact that you had rent for a whole year is a blessing.
Yep.
That's also discipline, because it says a lot about the decisions that you were making before the pandemic, right? Not many of us have that discipline. Not many of us, are on point. And, not because we're not mature, but, people have different situations, different circumstances, why that would be the reason. But, man, I'm happy to hear that. Like, that's a true blessing. So, that's great, man. That's actually great. Now, for the people that couldn't keep up with their rent, again, you don't have to go ahead and say anything. Couldn't keep up with the rent. What were you doing to deal with that? What were you planning? Were you thinking ahead? Did that time period, did it show you like, wow, this, I didn't think this can happen. I've seen this in movies. I thought it was impossible. But now when you're in it, how much did you learn from it? Where are you today from what you've learned in the past? I feel like we went pretty deep there, man. Like we just went straight to it in this conversation.
No, and it's important because again, it's all a matter of perspective, right? Because that's where we get into it, where a lot of people, especially when you don't know the Lord, a lot of people try to understand things themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's impossible. And I agree with you because I used to be the same way. I was heavy in that, where it was like, that's why it was easy for me to drown in a cup of water, because it would be a thing of like, I would try to control the situation. A lot of times that's why you drown in a cup of water. When you don't understand what's going on, you drown in a cup of water because you don't understand the situation. You don't understand why things are happening, and you want to control, you want to control everything. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
When you start to realize that, you want to control everything, but you can't, there's nothing you can control. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That changes your perspective, because I could tell you, I've come from a thing of, I've come from a background of, let me try to do it on my own. Let me try to do it on my own, try to make
Yeah.
moves on my own and all that stuff. And it was like, the stress levels are for real. Like the stress levels were on another level. And that was with everything going well. But it was always because, when you try to control everything, you are always having to think about not just this move and the next move. If you're really obsessive about it, you can easily start thinking 10, 15, 20 moves down the road. And that's not healthy. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, it's like like a lot of people like to joke sometimes. It's like, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, because you never know when a curveball will come, something that was completely unexpected, and you might have planned for 20 moves down the road, but you don't know when on the 10th move everything changes. You know what I'm saying? Something unexpected happens. Or you're going to be overstressing yourself because you're not just thinking about 20 moves down the road, but you're thinking about every single variable in that can happen. And that in and of itself is going to be stressful, because when you get hit with something, because you will get hit with something that you weren't expecting, that wasn't in your potential, risk management, right? For lack of a better term. And it comes out of left field, like out of the blue, you get hit with it. All of a sudden, you're going to be overly stressed, because it's going to be like, yo, I didn't plan for this. What happened? And now you're going to have to adjust. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's a thing of like, who's in control? You know what I'm saying? If you're not a believer, I'm gonna let you know right now. I'm telling you, test God and see if he's really in control of things. Asking him for the direction and trying to not make moves until he gives you a response in terms of what you could do. Because a lot of us move on emotion. And emotion is
Yeah.
what's going to get you in trouble. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And that's why you're all over the place. That's why you start acting bipolar when a number of different things happen, because you don't have your control, you don't have your emotions in check, and you're going to be all over the place. So if you don't believe, I test you to try to believe and understand that there's a higher power that is going to, that really does, do what he wants to do in your life, that's going to be according to his purpose, and hopefully you're walking in accordance to his purpose. And I guarantee you're going to see the difference, because I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And on the
Hmm.
on the flip side, I've been on the side of like, all right, there's nothing I can do, because you and me know, little bro, there's been so many things that I've been hit with in recent years when I'm walking in his purpose, or
Hmm.
trying my best to walk in his purpose, where it's like there is no rhyme or reason. Um there's no answer as to why something is happening. And it's something that you can legit say, like, yo, it gets to the point, it gets to the point where it's even laughable, because you're like, okay, for one thing to happen like this, whatever. For two things to happen, all right. But when it's one after another and after another, and you look, and in all of them, you're like, what I'm gonna do? This is out of my hands. Like, I didn't cause any of this. You know what I'm saying? It gets to the point in which you start. That's where you have to start looking at things from the perspective of, if it's happening, why is it happening? And I'm glad that you brought up, the Julie Jules brought up the fact of the pandemic, and how she saw the pandemic as, hey, I'm going to see this as a blessing, because it goes back to like the parable that I gave a few weeks ago, where it's like, the what you call it, this master came and gave all these people, all his servants, this money, and you got the ones that did something with it, and you had the one that put it in the ground because he was worried about like losing it. And you could kind of see, I've heard so many testimonies during the pandemic of people that, you know, when it was happening, there were those that were fearful. Yo, I gotta stack this money. I gotta stack this money. I gotta keep it away. I gotta put myself on the ill budget. I gotta eat ramen noodles and nothing but ramen noodles and water, because it's like it's the cheapest thing or whatever. And it's like they holding on and holding on and holding on, because they're worried about what's gonna come tomorrow, which
Yeah.
even the word tells you, don't worry about tomorrow. Let tomorrow worry for itself. And then you got others who's like Julie Jules over here talking about, yo, I saw this as an opportunity to go ahead and start my business. I saw it as a blessing. I saw other people who gave me testimony where they were like, you know what? I saw this. When I stopped, instead of freaking out, when I stopped and started looking, I started realizing that I was being given more during this pandemic. Like when I started taking out my expenses, getting to work, buying lunch outside of work, paying for the Metro card, all this different stuff. It was like when I realized that I wasn't paying all these additional things, I'm realizing I was actually making more money during the pandemic than when I was working. And I was mad stressed during work. So they were like, what am I going to do with this? Yeah, and you know exactly probably who I'm talking about, because it's somebody that helped me to start making some moves on my own during
Hmm.
that time. This person analyzed it and he was like, what am I going to do with this extra money that I have? Because now that I'm calculating it, I actually have more money now than I did before. And I got all these different protections that are giving me a little bit more. And they started to analyze it. And he was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to start getting into the stock market. And he started to get into the stock market. And all of a sudden, but why? Because he didn't allow himself to be paralyzed. He saw it as an opportunity. What is God wanting to do here that is allowing for this? And now I'm realizing that this is not a bad thing. This is a blessing. What am I going to do with this blessing? And next thing you know, where most people were worried about making paper, this dude was stacking paper. And he didn't hold it. And this is where it came down to. He wasn't holding it to himself. He was reaching out to people that he cared about. Like, yo, listen, I took this time to build something up, something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I never had the opportunity and I was too scared. He was like, yo, I'm feeling peace in doing this. Let me help you. And there's numerous people who got into it and started to have some degree of financial freedom
Hmm.
because he was helping them with something that he decided. And then there were those who didn't make any moves. And I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about in general. they didn't make any moves because they were so stuck in fear that they were like, what am I going to do? I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. And it was, it's, again, it was all a matter of perspective. And it doesn't just have to do with a market, because we could look at what Julie Jules just testified. She went out on a limb with her business. And when you think about it, what's the risk? It could have gone horribly, and that could have been money lost. But now she's doing something that's independent, that still to this day she's doing. And she's given testimony here in the last few weeks about how she's been able to go to DR, how she's blessed, kids and all this other stuff. It's like, you got to think, would she have been able to do that before? Probably not. But again, it was because it was a thing of, I'm not going to focus on the negative here. I'm going to focus on that God allowed it. Why did God allow it? God had to have allowed it for something good. I think to some degree, in Julie Jules, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that you're a believer and everything like that. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm sure to some degree, you had to hold on to the whole thing of, if God is doing it, God is doing it with a purpose. And his purpose is always to make things work for the good of those who love him. So you had to move out on a limb thinking that God was going to provide for you somehow, some way, or shut the door if you were walking in the wrong thing, if you misunderstood that this was an opportunity, and you're testing God in terms of what he's doing, and you got to see the blessing. You've been blessed, and you've been a blessing. So you've gotten a chance to test God at his word and been able to see that he's been faithful to his word. And there's people who I know have received what Julie Jules has shared in her testimony in the last last couple of months, who have probably started, maybe if they haven't made moves, they've at least started to contemplate the possibility of making moves, because again, somebody that, is just anybody, is just a normal person, just like all of us, because there's nothing that makes any of us, superior to anybody else here, but they got to see somebody else who's just like them, that is walking in, trying to walk in this blessing, trying to take, trying to test God at his word to see if he's going to be faithful with it and everything like that. Not because he owes you anything, but it's because his word doesn't come back void. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of learning that you can trust in God, that you can confide in God and what he's going to do. And, I know that there's been a lot of people, bro, that have seen God's hand move in their lives here in the last couple of years, in a time in which, worldly speaking,
you would have thought it's impossible.
It's impossible. You should be going backwards. You know what I'm saying? And it's not happening. It's actually, you're moving forward. But, it all depends. Are you being paralyzed in the fear? Or are you trying to analyze, ask God for the direction? God, what are you trying to show me? What lesson are you trying to teach me? What is it that you're trying to make happen so you can move forward in the blessing that he has?
And also, a lot of people have been blessed during the pandemic, just to add this to what you said, who has a job. They've had the same job even through the pandemic, thank God. Or the job that they currently have was because of the pandemic.
Right.
Which gave them the opportunity, even if it wasn't intentional, that it was just, okay, this is what's available now. Like, I have no problem doing this. But then you might have found passion, or you might have figured, man, you know what, this is actually good. The schedule, the pay, and I have time for myself, for my family. Maybe you had a job before where your schedule was just so crazy where you didn't even have time for yourself.
Right.
Or your family. So there's many blessings as we go. I like the fact that you brought up fear, because fear is one of the things that holds us back most. When we're growing up, there's a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of goals that we have, but we actually don't accomplish them, or we don't go after them because of fear, right? And I can say that I've been one where I've always stepped into like that overthinking phase. I've always had fear of, oh man, I really want to do this, but what are my parents going to think, or what are these people going to say? And we're here to say no. Whatever it is that you have in mind and you want to get done, I hope that 2020, the pandemic, did show you that life can be short. Life is long, which is why we have to take care of ourselves. But it can be short. whether it's pandemic, whether it's the violence that's taking place, we don't know what happens. Natural disaster, whatever it is, you have to keep pushing. You have to keep going. Whatever it is that you have in mind, just go ahead and do it. You don't know the blessing that's waiting for you on the other side. You don't know what comes from that decision that you make, right? It might be a foolish, I feel like there's nothing really foolish about it, but we feel like it's a foolish decision whenever we think like, you know what, let me go ahead and let go of this job and start working here instead, like downgrading. And when I say downgrade is taking less pay, but you have more time for yourself and for your family.
Right.
Because maybe you have a second plan, but then you're worried about what other people are going to think. And because other people look at your status and what's your job title, and, you know, because a lot of people do worry about that. And we're here to say, disregard that. Do what you want. If you want to go ahead and wash dishes because you have a game plan, because you have a plan to do bigger things, to give yourself more time, especially if you have a spouse that's giving you the support to pretty much, okay, you know, we're still making just about a good amount of money. Let me go ahead and sacrifice the time so I can actually, you know, create something where it gives me and my family more time to spend. It's like, go ahead and do it. Why do I bring that up? It was because I've always had in mind where we had to have a set idea of what is it that we want when we grow up. What is it that we want to do? We have to have that major for college figured out. You know, we have to make sure we finish those 4 years. We have to make sure we get the master's, right? But are you really going to enjoy that job? Do you like the job title and what it brings? Or do you actually feel it? Do you have a passion for it? So now we grow up comparing ourselves to others, right? Because it happens in discussion. And that's what makes us feel down, right? Because let's just say if you're having a conversation with someone and, you know, hey, what's up, man? So where you working nowadays? Oh, McDonald's. Really? Yeah, I'm in Presbyterian. You know, I'm in Jacoby Hospital. It's like Jacoby Hospital, right? According to society, you work in a hospital, you work in McDonald's, right? Half the time, these people are miserable, right? Or vice versa, because it all depends, you know, it all depends. Every life is different. But you tell me, haven't you been afraid? Because I have, for people to know what I'm doing or what my plan is, or what would they think if I want to do this instead and not go to college? You know, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Now going back to the pain management, because there was something else that you spoke about, but I never got to link this with life experience with the pain management. So pain management involves relief of pain in various dimensions, from acute and simple to chronic and challenging. Can't we say that we can actually connect that with life? There's a lot of problems that we may have that are actually very simple, you know, but there are other problems that are major and very challenging, right? So now the pain management part, what is it? Pain management can go wrong. As we mentioned before, if you're using substance, if you're using habits like, you know, video games or distractions like that to disconnect you from reality, all you're doing is setting yourself back. So we have to make sure that we focus on tackling the problem, right? Now, I want to see if anyone can just, you know, a show of hands, just a show of hands, if you've ever made a decision that actually stunned your growth or has delayed some type of process in your life, whether it's school, whether it's work, you know, home, relationship, whatever that is, you know, a show of hands, if there's anyone that can actually connect to that. Because I'm sure many of us can relate, you know, anyone who's watching. And it can be critical. And I've been there to the point where even now, there's been a lot of struggles, you know, current struggles. Now we're going to let go of the past. Now there's current struggles that it's like easily, I can fall back into those dark places, into those dark habits. And I'm actually fighting, I'm battling that. And it's been tough. So I'm sure there's a lot of other people here that can actually relate to that. There's something that you might be struggling with, and you have to constantly remind yourself, it's okay to struggle with it. Just make sure that you don't disconnect from reality. Just go ahead and handle that situation that you're in, regardless of what that is. Make sure to handle that situation. One thing that I was talking to Big Bro earlier today, I ended up sending a voice note about something, and it just led me on, right? My mind was all over the place at the time. And I mentioned how I'm starting to realize that I was so afraid of the struggle. I was so afraid of making the wrong decision. I was so focused on the wrong things that I never gave myself the chance to fix a situation. I never gave myself a chance to find out what's on the other side of that problem. I never gave myself the chance to figure out what's on the other side of that decision, because not every decision is a problem.
Right.
It might be something good, but I was unable to discover it at the time. But one thing that I have to say, life has been fair, and God has always been there. I started to realize that in the most recent years, after going through a real critical and challenging situation. As I mentioned before, right? In life, we have simple and we have the critical situations. But I had to learn that the hard way. And it's been tough. And I know one of the major decisions was, because I've learned from my past, was, you know what? Alcohol is not going to fix this. You know what? A day out is not going to fix this. All it's going to do is set me back financially. So one thing sets you back financially, the other thing sets you back emotionally or mentally or physically. Because how many days, a show of hands, we feel like we don't want to get out of bed, but we have to, right? Sad thing is that we're more quick to get out of bed to show up to a job because we're afraid to lose it than to get out of bed for ourselves, for our well-being. I want you to think about that, right? You get up because you have to, right? But even on your day off, that doesn't mean sleep in. I'm not trying to say to lose sleep. No, what I'm trying to say is with how you're feeling, with whatever situation is going through your mind, whatever's causing you to stay in, you have to fight that through. And I've learned that the hard way. I've learned it the hard way. And that's when discipline kicks in. Because once you can overcome that, because remember, we've spoken about attacks. Those are attacks that take place. It was hard for me to believe in spiritual warfare. And it does take place. These things don't happen because you're a sack of salt. How we would say, in society, you always have those, negative things happen to you all the time. But it's not because I'm a negative person. Maybe because of a decision that I made, and the path that I'm taking, the walk, is actually so good that the enemy feels like, you know what? I can't risk this guy or girl to head down that way because I'm going to lose them. They've been doing the wrong things for far too long, and I need more of the bad than the good. That's what the enemy is asking for.
Yep.
So now take a second and just register everything we've been discussing for the past few minutes. Have you felt so stressed to the point where you feel stunned, to the point where you don't want to do anything? It's affecting you emotionally. It's affecting you mentally. Many times it even affects you financially. And spiritually, some people stop believing because of how many attacks they're receiving, because of the way they've been feeling. But sometimes you also got to think, you would also have to take some type of responsibility for the way you've been feeling. What have you been doing? How you've been managing all those situations to deal with it? Because I know I've been doing a little bit of both.
Let me tell you, no matter how much you believe, you can always be affected by it. There's no shame in talking about this today. As you were getting like close to the end of what you were saying, it was reminding me of the story of Elijah in the Bible, where like you know, he goes, he does some amazing stuff. He has guys show out. You know, I mean, he literally put like hundreds of prophets on blast. You know what I'm saying? Like, show me your God, and their God couldn't do nothing. But he was like, all right, check it out. I'm gonna wet this wood over here. I'm gonna do all this stuff. Yo, God, turn this wood on fire. And God took the wet wood and everything and lit that thing ablaze. And this dude ended up destroying all these prophets, beheading all these prophets. I mean, obviously God shows out, right? But what happens? He has something so insignificant. You think something like that is something huge. Obviously, God showed out. Nobody should be even trying to step to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody should be stepping to you. And what you call the Queen Jezebel, she goes and steps to him. I want his head. I'm gonna have his head cut off. And this dude, after God showing out, instead of focusing on like, yo, God could fix that problem too, he goes and he hides in a cave. You know what I'm saying? Because he's scared for his life. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but bro, hold up. Like 5 minutes ago, God showed out and all these prophets are beheaded and all this other stuff. Like, why are you even afraid? You're talking about God just took care of like hundreds of dudes. You're afraid of one woman? I mean, come on, like that doesn't even make any sense. You know what I'm saying? But it was enough. I'm sure he was already in hearing what he heard that she wanted to have him killed. It was enough for him to be fearful. And because of being fearful, you got to think like, what would have happened if he would have just been like, I ain't afraid, tell her to step up. What's up? I'll have God take care of you next. You know what I'm saying? What would have happened if he would have stepped up that way instead of going to a cave? And the thing is, God took care of him to a point by sending, sending birds to go drop off, provision for him at the cave. But there had to be a point in which God was like, okay, this is enough. We got to get you up out this cave because this ain't working out. You ain't doing what I called you to do. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? He had to make him uncomfortable in order to make him move, because it was like, yo, all right, I'll let you be afraid for a little bit, but there gets to be a point in which it's like, this is not good for you. This is stunting what I want to do. And that's what happens to a lot of people, bro. I mean, I've seen people in the past who get to the point where one I'm not going to call it a little issue, because everybody, feels different ways about the things that happen to them. So I'm not going to try to minimize how somebody feels, because you feel how you feel. You know what I'm saying? But there will be people that will have one life event, however big or small you think it is, they'll have it impact them to the point that not only do they stop doing what they need to do, but they even cut people off from their life, because it's like, I can't even be around anybody right now. And they isolate themselves. You know what I'm saying? They isolate themselves because it's like, you would think like the people that care for them want to be around them, want to uplift them, want to help them through the situation. It's like they know that those people are there for that, but they are so impacted that in their mind they process so many things in so many different ways. Like, what's this person gonna say? Is this person gonna judge me? Is this person really gonna be there? I can't handle the rejection I might feel from this person. What if this person's not going to really be there for me? I mean, who knows the 1,000,001 questions that they put in their head. But because of that, they decide to just isolate, because it's almost a thing of like, in my own little cave, nobody can hurt me. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, they're doing the damage to themselves. And I think a lot of us have probably been there. And if you think,
definitely,
you asked a great question about, if you've been through it, like share about it, whatever, raise your hand if you've been through it. If you've been fearful and you've let things impact your life, I want you to stop for a second and think, if the things that you have been fearful about that have stopped you, have they been real? Or have they been things that you put in your head and then if you look back and analyze it, it ain't even like that. You know, I don't know who the pastor, the preacher that was that came up with this, you know, acronym for fear. I don't know who it was, but they attributed a fear as an acronym, which was false evidence appearing real. Think about that for a second. False evidence appearing real. So just imagine that if you go to, you know, you go to a court and you present this evidence that supposedly this is going to be the one that is, you know, let's say that you're the defendant, right? And the state is the plaintiff against you, and they got this piece of evidence, and you look at it and you're like, yo, but how did they have that? Like, that's not even me. That's not the knife. Like, I ain't stabbed this person, or whatever the evidence is. You look at it and you can say, I'm worried that I'm going to go to jail, but I know that what's being presented right now is false evidence, but it appears real. And you worry that's going to impact you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens a lot of times is that that's not evidence against us. It ends up being like we're the defendant, but we're the judge at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Where we're looking at that evidence and we're like, yo, but this thing that's being presented in front of me, this is what's going to happen. When in reality, God is like, yo, I'm going to bring the truth to the light. Don't worry about that. Like, if it's false, it's false. At some point, it's gonna, you know, I'm gonna reveal it that this is fake. You know what I'm saying? But how many of us have let that false evidence that appears real in your life impact you? This person won't be there for you. Don't make this move because it's going to go bad for you. Don't apply to these jobs because nobody's going to hire you. Don't try to go for this particular relationship because this person's not going to, you know, pay you any attention. Don't try to move up and you know, don't even try to go for this promotion because who would want to promote you? You barely get by where what you're doing. You know, so many different things, you know,
Yeah.
that it's like stops you from going towards what you think that God has for you. Where in some cases people have even received direction from God, this is what God wants you to do, but you don't make that move because when you are thinking about making that move, something is presented to you that's not even the reality. And it's like, do you really want to go down that road? Because let me present to you what's going to happen to you if you do that. If you make this move, if you make this, you know, if you determine that this is the route, you know, the road you want to go, and then that's when you got to stop and think. If you've been processing this and you've been thinking to yourself, hold up, this is being presented to me, and every time that I encounter these fears, it's not real. Now that makes you wonder, who's presenting me with that evidence? Number one, who's presenting you with that evidence? And number two, why are they presenting you with the evidence? Fear doesn't come from God. Fear comes from the enemy. Fear comes from the devil. He brings that fear. God's not trying to instill that fear in you. The enemy is trying to instill that fear in you. But why would he want to instill fear in you? Because you got to think, if his purpose is to make you not walk according to God's purpose, not receive God's blessings, right? If he's if he knows that you're going to go the wrong direction, why would he make you fearful? Wouldn't he let you fall off the cliff? It'd be like, yo, I know where they're going the wrong way. God's not where they're, you know, where they're walking right now. They misunderstood. You think he's going to be like, let me scare them into coming back? No, he's going to be like, they're going to their death. They're going where God's not. This is great for me. He'd let you walk there. But if you're seeing, if you know that what you're walking towards is because God wants something greater for you, and something is trying to instill fear in you, you need to analyze it to see if it's real or not. You know what I'm saying? Because what's going to happen is when you analyze that false evidence, you're going to find the fingerprints of God is not on that evidence. The fingerprints of the enemy is on that evidence. And you're going to realize, nah, this does not match up with what God's word says. I'm supposed to be receiving. Just by the fact that I'm fearful alone, that's enough evidence to show you God's fingerprints ain't on this. So let me go walk, and ask God for direction. But again, that's where this platform being educational for people plays a big part. Because if you know who God is, if you get to know him, if you get to have a relationship with him, if you get to read in the word who he is, if you get to hear through a preaching or through a conversation like this what God is like, when you're encountered with these things, you start thinking for a second, wait a second, that's true. Every time that I'm afraid, this happens. I get to see that this isn't even real. And that's when you can start to realize and start to walk more confidently, because you're always going to get those fearful thoughts. That's never going to go away. But what goes away is your reaction. When something tries to come in front of you and scare you, that's where you can analyze, who's this coming from? Because as soon as I realize it ain't coming from God, I can walk different. I can walk confidently. I can ask God, help direct my steps. Help close doors that shouldn't be open. Help open doors that shouldn't be closed. You know what I'm saying? You can start asking God for the direction and you'll start to see him show out. But you don't know that if you don't know who God is. That's the big thing. And a lot of people have seen that here recently.
And there's been many times that I'm sure a lot can relate, where you actually overthinking, right? You step into this overthinking phase. You don't know what's on the other side, right? There's a lot of struggles. I say that people have to accept it. If you're in a situation right now, you have to accept the struggle that you're in. Accept it. And notice how, like Pastor Carlos mentioned not too long ago, any situations you've been in the past where you were trying to avoid or trying to delay, right? But you were trying to avoid because you were afraid of what the results were going to be or how you were going to feel facing it, approaching it. And the second that you approach that struggle or that situation, you thought to yourself, wait, this is all that it took to solve this? So this whole time I was thinking for days and for weeks, I was losing sleep. I was losing beautiful moments with my family. I was not so focused in my job because I was thinking about the problem or the decision that you wanted to make. And it was just as simple as making a decision, facing it, approaching it, and boom, now it's gone. Of course, there's going to be other obstacles moving forward. But you're not in the thinking phase where you're actually missing out in those special moments. Those moments where you're supposed to be disconnected with your family, your loved ones, or giving yourself time to read a book, to get those 8 hours of sleep so you can wake up early, and tackle every task you have on a daily basis. But we tend to focus on the fearful thoughts, right? Sometimes we don't even trust ourselves. We don't have the amount of faith. It takes something like critical to make you learn the hard way, to start believing in yourself no matter what. Because I got to say this, I used to be one that used to stress over these situations, over these moments. But one thing that I learned, to make a long story short, was accept the situation like it is. Take it day by day. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about today. What do you need to get done today?
Yep.
Focus on yourself, your well-being, making sure you get the right amount of rest, nutrition. Because if you're not doing good, there's nothing else that's going to be good in your life. Even the people around you, the people that depend on you. Because believe it or not, we all have someone or people that depend on us. We have our kids that look up to us, or nieces and nephews, or little brothers, sometimes even big brothers and sisters, that they're just in shock with all that you've gone through. And there's no degree in this world. There's no certificate more than you being here, breathing, alive, going through all the situations that you've gone through and making it this far. You're a great example to many. to many, and sometimes we don't even see it that way. And it's something that if anyone needs to hear this, if anyone needs to hear this, you have to focus on you. Focus on any situation that you might be experiencing now. Approach it immediately because you don't know what it's going to bring tomorrow. We're not saying to think about tomorrow. What we're saying is tackle that situation today because tomorrow will be a better day. It will be a better day. And remember, there's always going to be obstacles. And, you know, when I sent you that message earlier today, big bro, it was pretty tough because it was actually a reminder for myself as well. Like, you know what? Because, you know, there's times when I feel down. And when I feel down, it's like, man, like, is the attack going to stop? Or the attack's going to stop? You know, because we still, what's tomorrow going to bring? We can easily fall into the negative world where, you know what? Or give up. You know, some people like to just give up. But we just have to keep pushing because we have to accept that that struggle is what's shaping us today for tomorrow. And the more we go through, this is actually key right here. The more we all go through, no matter what that is, take it as a lesson and it's going to make you stronger because remember, there's different levels. Some people think that when you make X amount of money or when you get past all the obstacles that you currently have now, there's going to be no more. Life is going to be beautiful. I'm going to be able to take more trips. I'm going to be able to get the job that I want, or I'm going to get promoted, whatever it is that you're thinking in your mind. You will accomplish everything you want to accomplish, but not if you're focusing on the problem. You have to focus on the path that you're on the goals that you have for yourself to keep moving. And that's one thing that I learned. And no matter what, thank God I'm still breathing today. We all have to thank God that we're still breathing today, that we're still here, that we're still able to fight the good fight because think about it. There's other people that can't. There's other people that aren't even here.
Yep.
Because of the struggles that we're experiencing now. Because for some people, the simple stuff may be major, and the major may be simple for others. So I need everyone to keep that in mind. You know, keep that in mind. Life is not going to get any easier. Life is not, and especially when you have these major goals, you know, and never worry about like other people's view, you know, how they see you, you know, just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. Sometimes we stress so much and we really lose focus on what we really have to focus on.
Yeah. And, you know, because
You
there's
know,
always going to be those struggles, but that's where, again, that's where it's so important to look at things from a different point of view.
mm-hmm,
In the sense that you're right. When we look at it from a worldly perspective, life does not get any easier because there's
mm-mm,
always something. That's why, you know, if you play into the distraction, believe me, you're going to constantly be distracted. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? You're going to constantly be distracted. And that's why, you know, there's different challenges, right? Because there's going to be some people who, you know, money's going to do everything for me. And, you know, they got money and they're taking these trips and they're doing this and they're doing that and they're buying what they want and all these different things happen, but then they don't realize that 20 years down the road they're like, yo, I have all this material stuff, but I don't have family. I don't really have friends because I was so focused on this. The ones that I thought that I had, it was false. You know what I'm saying? Or I do have kids, but my kids don't want anything to know, you know, don't want anything to do with me because I was always so focused on the money. You know what I'm saying? So you never
yep,
know. You never know how what you're chasing after is going to affect you. But there's always going to be a struggle. The same way that I've seen people that chase money and when they finally get money, that money's not enough because they get into something else. And when they get into something else, they need
yeah,
more money and then they get more money and they thought that was going to make them happy. And then they get divorced or their kid starts having addiction issues or they end up having
mm-hmm,
some major illness that, you know, that knocks them out of commission for a year and a half or whatever. That's why it's so important to realize that there can always be distractions or there can always be struggles, right? But that's why it's so important. And I'm telling you again, especially for those that haven't heard it before, I've been on both sides. And I've been on the side of being like, you know what? God, I'm going to test you on your word that says, let tomorrow worry for itself. And just, you'll have people like, you gotta do something to take care of that issue. What I'm going to do? Because if I go and if I make a move, something else is going to go wrong, because
Yeah.
I'm I could tell you that I've been in or am in situations in which I'm in a catch-22. If I make one move, it's going to affect the other thing in a negative way. And if I don't make a move, it's going to affect, this other thing might be good, but it's going to affect me here. So it's like, I don't have anywhere to turn. You know what I'm saying? I don't have anywhere to turn. But I've gotten to the point of, there's things when people hear certain things that happen, yo, you better do something to take care of that. And I'm like, what I'm going to do? What I'm going to do is going to test God on it. Yo, I'm not going to worry about it. Do you're allowing it to happen for a reason. So show me what it is, and just give me direction. And I've been at such peace where it's like the struggle is there, but the battle is not mine. And you remember I told you a few days ago, this reminds me of the whole story of Job. Job ain't do anything wrong. Satan came and told God, yo, the only reason that he's all cool with you and everything like that, the only reason he worships you is because you're always doing right by him. Take away some stuff and have some bad stuff happen, and watch how he's going to curse you. And it was like, the battle wasn't Job's. Job wasn't making the things happen. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing all this stuff to lead him the wrong way, and he deserved it. Yeah. God permitted the enemy to do something to him, or to do numerous things to him. And he was like, I'm going to just leave it to God. If this is what God wants to do, let him do it, whatever. And it was like, and he got compensated for it in the long run. But it was like, but what happened? It was anguish. It wasn't fair. There was sadness. There was misery. There was struggle. But I'm sure to some degree, Job had peace, where it was like, God's giving me all this stuff that I don't deserve, so just let him do what he wants. But what did he realize? The battle wasn't his. The battle was God's. So a lot of y'all don't realize the battle isn't yours. So why are you fighting it? Why are you stressing over it? Why are you allowing the stuff to captivate, to captivate you to the point where it's like, maybe you're not dealing with it 24/7 in the physical, or with the phone calls, or with the text, but you're dealing with it 24/7 in here.
But having those moments.
And you might even say, but it's not 24/7. All right, it's not 24/7. You sleeping well at night? Because when you're not sleeping well at night, that means it's a 24/7 thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, it's not easy. I'm not telling you that it's easy. But when you're like, yo, it's let go. I'm going to let go. Because you're telling me in your word that tomorrow, let tomorrow worry for itself. Yo, how much more real do you want it than in present day? And I'm going to tell you, because I'm sure that there's people that have been worried, yo, how am I going to pay my rent because of all this COVID stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then they end up in the hospital with COVID tomorrow, and they don't get out the next day. They're done.
Sometimes even a few days,
Do you think that now tomorrow worried for itself? They were so worried about it, and then they didn't even get a chance to deal with the resolution or nothing.
Fight it, yeah.
And what happened in their last few days? They didn't get to enjoy what was left. They didn't get to enjoy the time with their partner, with their spouse, with their kids. They didn't get to enjoy that God blessed them with this job, that God blessed them with this meal, that God allowed them to walk out and enjoy fresh air. There's never a better time than the present to look at the situation that we're in right now and realize that when God has said, let tomorrow worry for itself, there's no better time than the present to look at the present situation and be like, you know what? This is true. Because I could end up in a hospital tomorrow, be worrying about all this stuff, and tomorrow is going to be the least of my worries because I might not even be here.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? It's like, and that's in all walks of life. Pre-COVID, I had a similar situation with our youth, And I remember telling them, you think you invincible because you're 14, 15, 16 years old? Tomorrow, anything can happen to you and you might not be here. And I remember when God gave me that message for them, not even 5 days later, as I was on a Wednesday, and I remember it vividly on that Sunday, Kobe and his daughter had an accident, had that helicopter crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was like 14, 15,
14,
bro.
14, 15. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think that she was worrying?
That was sad.
I mean, come on. How much more real do you want it? It don't have to be COVID. You could get hit by a bus. You could have somebody throw you into the train tracks, like I've seen has happened in New York, where people minding their business.
It's been happening a lot.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, to not not to be funny, but some of y'all could go choke on your food on accident, and nobody's around, and that was it for you. How you died? I choked on a breadstick. Like, I'm sure you ain't worrying about your bread, your rent money now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, stop letting those things captivate your attention. It's not that you shouldn't hope that God deals with them and to handle it, but we let those things captivate every single moment of our lives. And for what? For nothing. At the end of the day, when you leave this earth, is that problem, are you going to take it with you? No. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to end up taking it with you? Absolutely not. The same way that you can't take your money with you, the same way you can't take your property with you, the same way that you can't take all these different things with you, you're not going to be able to take your problem with you. I mean, what do you want? For God to go ahead and deal with your problem in heaven? Heaven's perfection. There's nothing there for him to fix. If you made it, you made it. So why are you worrying about tomorrow? For what? What purpose is it going to serve? What is it giving you? Other than allowing the enemy to steal, because the word says he's going to steal. Think about what he's stealing from you. I really want you to focus right now for a minute. If you've been focused on things that are taking away your joy, that are taking away your positivity, that are taking away your focus, all these, all the different things, it's like, for what? Really, for what? You think God wants you being in anguish and in misery and sadness? No, that's not what he wants. The sad thing is that a lot of people, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, a lot of people, and probably even including some people that are on here, have thought that you're going through what you're going through right now because you've messed up in so many different areas that you think that God is punishing you. I'm sorry. I have a relationship with God, and I know that's not who he is. He's not rejoicing in like, oh, I get to punish you because you've been so bad. Ha ha ha. Like, nah, he ain't doing that. Do you realize that he loves you? I mean, come on. I think those of y'all that are parents probably get me a little bit more. But like, when your kid acts up, do you enjoy punishing them? Do you even want to punish them? I mean, you do have to discipline them at times. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely, you do. But do you think that, like, are you sitting there? I can't wait for my kid to mess up because I can't wait to take away that iPad. I can't wait to take away this privilege. I can't wait to make them be broke. I can't wait to show them that, like, I'm not going to give you to eat today. Come on, let's be real. Some of y'all are going through the financial struggle and you're like, yo, I don't even know how I'm going to eat. I'm worried about my rent, how I'm going to sleep, and all this other stuff. If you're a parent, especially, at what point have you sat down and you've been like, I can't wait till I make my child starve. I can't wait till I leave them on the street or leave them sleeping on the floor. When have you done that? Not never. You don't do that. You don't do that. Because no matter how messed up your kid might act, you know what's good for them and you want to instruct them in a different way. And but at the end of the day, you want to show them that you love them, even when you're instructing them. I mean, I don't know you, bro. I know you've been on the phone sometimes when when my kids act up and you hear them screaming a mess in the background. I've been there when your daughter, you know, sometimes it might get a little rude or whatever because they're kids. You know, kids are
Mm-hmm.
kids. It happens. But when you correct them, has it been a thing of like, yo, I'm gonna smack you and I'm not gonna show you any love? No. It's been a
Yeah.
thing of like, hey, you know, I might even have to give you a stern tone. I might have to take something away from you. But it's been a thing of like, I'm doing this, but I want you to understand why I'm doing it. And I still love you. Like, you do it in a loving way. Yeah, as a kid, it sucks because you're like, you know, I still want to do what I want to do. But you understand that you were wrong, but you still got to see the love of the parent. And here we are thinking, yo, God is doing all this stuff because I messed up and he wants to punish me. He wants me to be broke. He wants me to be miserable. He wants me to be sad. He wants me to be joyless. He wants me to, you know, who told you that? Like, for real, who told you that? You know what I'm saying? Because whoever told you that, you need a reality check. That's not who God is. And if you go look at in the word, you can find out who God is. You know what I'm saying? That's not who he is. And some of us got to wake up because that's not what he wants us to be living through on the real. But we're so stuck on that because a lot of times we think we even can get to the point that we think we deserve it. And that's why we don't even move forward, because it's like, if you're not fearful, it's because you believe that you deserve the misery that you're in. Then what did Christ die for then? For real. Think about that. Yeah, he died for you to be miserable. Absolutely. That's why he died. Think about that. That's why he did it. I'm gonna go to the cross so Joaquin could be miserable for the rest of his life. Come on, man. No, stop it. Wake up, people, for real. Wake up. Because
And that's why,
there's a different life for you, for real.
and that's why I just continue to bring up, the fact that, everyone has to shift their focus, you know, remove the fear, replace it with faith. From now on, moving forward, when something goes wrong, focus on facing it, approach it, whatever the consequences are. Sometimes we're the ones that cause the problem. Sometimes the other person is the one that causes the problem, but regardless of whatever direction, you need to be at peace. Your mind needs to be clear. There's a lot of other things that we have to handle, a lot of other responsibilities. There's a lot of things that fear can actually take over that and take us away from those responsibilities, which is why, there's a lot of people that they say, we slack sometimes. Why is it that we're slacking? Is it that we're not feeling passionate about something anymore? Whether it's the job you're in, the relationship, or whatever you do, your hobbies. Maybe you just need to switch it up, switch the routine, break that routine. You know, um, I'm one, that I used to overthink many times, and it was stealing away the peace that I needed. Even those, there's a lot of moments that we miss, believe it or not, because we're too busy focused on the wrong, on the negative.
I'll tell you this much, little bro. There have been instances in which that overthinking, and
Mm-hmm.
especially that fear, caused me to dig an even bigger hole
Big time.
constantly than what the issue was at first, because I'd be so focused on what was going to happen with the problem that was presenting itself
Mm-hmm.
that I can tell you, I wasn't going to God for the solution. So I was trying to figure out, how could I fix it myself? Because I was so worried about, if this happens, what is going to happen, when, like, what domino effect is going to happen in my life, you know?
That even affects our decision making too, because
Absolutely.
in general, just in general, I feel like it affected me in many ways, when it came to making decisions for myself.
Absolutely.
Um, it was hard for me to be a
Bro,
problem solver.
I even got to the point that problems that I didn't cause, but that
Mm-hmm.
affected me, I allowed it to go ahead and take such hold over my life that it caused me to dig a bigger hole, when in reality, my response should have been, yo, check it out. I know that this is going to affect me in this way, but this is not my problem. Like, in reality, like, we can help. I don't mind helping you find a solution, but don't stick me in this. Like, in reality, I got nothing to do with this. Like, we might be linked in this issue by some way, but in reality, it's not my problem. So what we need to do is just cut this off. I might help, we can discuss finding a solution, but I'm not going to be the solution to your problem. You know what I'm saying? But instead, I would be so fearful about what would happen if I didn't deal with the issue, that I would let the fear that of the other circumstances or other people would instill in me would make me think, yo, if I don't fix this, all these different things are going to happen. This is going to happen in my business. And if this happens in my business, this is going to happen in my house. And if this happens in my house, this is going to affect me here. And if this affects me here, what are people going to say? And if these people say that, how's that going to affect my standing? And if it's, it's like one after the other, after the other,
all
after
that
the other.
time and energy on that.
And for
when it could
what?
have been on something else.
And for what? You know what I'm saying? And it's every now and then it creeps its head up. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that I never fall in it. Every now and then I fall in it. But there comes a moment in which I have to stop, and I've got to be like, okay, well, hold up. No, I can't go down that road. I can't go down that road. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't be doing that. But it's bad, bro. And a lot of people, they got to wake up to it, because it's not the life that God wants you to live. For real, it's not. It's not. I got to repeat it to you. It's not the life he wants you to live. But it's easy for you to fall into it. It's very easy for you to fall into it. And you'll just keep digging that hole and digging that hole and digging that hole. I mean, I've lived it. God has saved, God has lifted me from that.
Big time.
Many times. But
big time.
It's one of those things where it's like, again, I think about it from a parent's perspective. Like, if you would have come to me to begin with, I'll give you a real easy one. I think about it from my son's perspective. Yesterday, we were over to my brother-in-law's house, and he was having an issue on, he wanted to play a game, and he was having an issue on the device that was, he wanted to play on. And all of a sudden, he goes over to the kitchen table. He's throwing a little fit. And I mean, being real dramatic about it, right? And he starts like crying about it. And it becomes a thing where it's like, he goes and I think he tells my wife, or he tells his uncle, and they're like, yo, don't worry about it. Like, I could go fix it. And it's like, and I had to go to him, and I had to tell him when I went over to see how he was doing, I was like, do you realize that I know how to fix that? Like, instead of those 10 minutes, 15 minutes that you were spending crying and whining about it and, haciendo un show, you know what I'm saying? Like, making this whole show, you could have came to me, and in like 90 seconds, I would have had you up and running. and you would have been good money, and you wouldn't be crying.
All he had to do was talk.
Now, I want you to think, have you ever been in that situation where it's like the problem presents itself, and instead of asking God for direction or seeking direction or trying to find the solution, you start, me voy a tirar en la cama. I'm going to start crying. I'm going to call up 20 people and cry about the whole thing. Oh, I can't believe what happened to me. When you could have probably taken like 2 minutes to figure it out.
To collect yourself.
You know what I'm saying? Calm yourself down. Try to aim for some clarity and see where you could have gone with it. You know what I'm saying? And realize, yo, this problem is not as big as I thought it was. You know what I'm saying?
And I know you can actually agree to this, man. I was one that I would actually depend on someone else's thought, right? It's okay to discuss, obviously, with people that you trust, like we've mentioned in the past episodes. But I wouldn't go so much with what I was feeling and thinking. I would go more with what someone else is telling me. you know. And now when you take that route, it's easy for you to blame someone else for the consequences of that decision that you made that had nothing to do with what you were feeling or thinking, right? So again, that connects with the whole overthinking phase, right? Uh, it stuns your decision making in general,
Yep.
in general. And I know that that set me back many times. You know, I don't know how many people can actually feel the same way about that, but you know, whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, whether it's for you, your relationship, your business, your job, make that decision and find out the hard way. Just find out, because you know what? If things go right, you're gonna tell yourself, "Man, I'm glad I made that decision." If things go wrong, now I know not to make that decision or to be extra careful with the decision making. You just start building more experience, right? You start building up more experience. And I think that's very important, man, because again, that overthinking phase is very critical. And some people, they don't know how deep that can go. And like you said, you dig a bigger hole, you know, way deeper. And then it's hard to get out of it, you know.
Yep.
Nothing is impossible. What I'm saying is, it's going to take a lot longer to recover from it when we're talking about situations, you know, or to heal from
Absolutely.
it. So,
I'm telling you, you gotta evaluate it, because until you try to, take that action, you'll find in taking that and calming yourself down, collecting yourself, asking God for direction, you're gonna find if it's the wrong place, the wrong thing to be doing, He's going to shut the door. You know,
yeah,
ask Him for the direction. He'll shut the door. If that's not the move, He's going to shut the door. But the main thing is ask for direction and know that He can shut the door that you should not be going through. And I'm telling you, I've seen so many instances, especially here just in the last few weeks. Um, so many people that have come in and been like, okay, I need some direction from God. I need some direction from God on stuff. And then it'll be a thing of like, all right, I'll go pray for God to give you direction. And God will lead me, will lead me into, yo, if this is not the door for them, close it, please. And then sure enough, the door gets closed. You know what I'm saying? The door gets closed. And later on, they go, wow, I don't know why God closed that door, but I'm trusting that that's the move. And then later down, they start realizing, yo, he definitely closed the door for a reason. I'm just realizing all the stuff that would have happened if I would have gone that way.
yeah.
Man, de lo que me salvó.
I'm glad you brought this up, man. There was an interview that I came across. Uh, the guys from Earn Your Leisure, Rashad and Troy, they interviewed Steve Harvey, and he made a great point. He was saying how there's people, and I've been here, where there's a door that's shut, right? A door shuts on you, and you just continue to knock, right? Now we don't want to confuse this with fighting for what you believe, or fighting for what you want to accomplish. It's two different things. Because if a door shut, is what we mentioned a few minutes ago, you have to accept it. Accept that that door is shut, because, as Steve Harvey said this specifically, there's a long hallway. The hallway of life has other doors, and that doesn't mean that they're all going to shut on you. Meaning, there's a whole bunch of other opportunities as you keep living, as you go. But as if you're so focused on that door that's shut on you, and you're knocking and knocking and knocking, you don't know what's ahead of you, right? He made a great point with that. He made an example to where, like in the pandemic, he said, there were people that lost their jobs, and they continue to try, and, they complain like, oh, this job needs to open. I've been here for X amount of years, this and that and the third, whatever it is. But you don't know what's ahead. Maybe you're going to make up for all you've missed in that job that you had. You're probably going to be happier. You're going to have more time for yourself. You're probably going to make more money. You're probably going to make less, but you're going to have the time to create something for you, business, or self-employment. You know what I mean? So I like that example that he used. Steve Harvey. That interview is actually great. For those who don't know, Earn Your Leisure, they have like great content, you know, and that's another platform that if you need like financial literacy, um, and just even like guidance, you know what I mean? It's also very therapeutic. For me, that's like one of my go-tos. Those guys are great, man. Those interviews, they have a lot of gems. It's not only, it doesn't all, it's not everything that has to do with finance. You know, there's a lot of gems there that actually keeps pushing us through life to get through each day. Let me see. There was no messages here.
Yeah, no, but
Cool. So
you hit that nail on the head, bro. And with everything that you just said, you were right on the money, right on the money. And too many of us get stuck on that door that's shut.
yeah,
You know, and there's another door wide open.
it's easier to complain. It's easier to complain than to get through that door, that obstacle, you know, that problem that you're going through. It's easier to complain. It's even easier to use that as an excuse to not keep to keep you, you know, back to just keep stunning your growth. It's easy
Absolutely.
to say, oh no, you know, I can't get that other job because I'm so used to this one, or you know, I can't get in this relationship because of what happened in my past, or you know, there's many things that you can use and blame other things. What you got to do is stay firm and just keep pushing through, because we don't know what's on the other side, and we're all going to struggle. It's easier said than done, though. You know, it's so easy to say it. You know, it's easy for me to say it right now, because even we struggle with that.
Yep.
You know, but once you change that perspective, once you start looking at life and looking at your day to day differently, to the point where, you know what, if there's an issue that presents itself, I'll take care of it. And if I can't control it, there's nothing I can do about it. Let me go ahead and put it behind me. See, you're not just disregarding it. All you're doing is acknowledging that that problem is there. And all you got to do is evaluate whether you can actually, you know, can you control it, or you can't. And if you can't, just put it behind you. Just keep pushing.
Yeah, you know what? That is
It's very important.
That is a key one. It's not about
There's a lot we can handle.
Yeah, it's not about disregarding.
Yeah.
Because pretending that it doesn't exist is not healthy.
And I'm sure many of us been
there.
You know?
Because that you know, so definitely don't get it wrong. I think, you know, I'm glad that you made that distinction, because some people will take what was being said today as, oh, I'm gonna just, you know, when you were talking about you know, not worry about tomorrow or whatever, you know, that means just take the issue and just throw it away and forget about it, like, you know, just put the blinders on it. No, it's to realize it's real, it exists, but is it something that God has given me the ability to control? Because God does a lot of times give you the capability, the ability to be able to handle a situation and work through it. But the question is, has he directed you to do it? Number one, has he given you the ability to do it? And if the answer to both of those are no, then you need to realize it's out of my control. I can acknowledge the problem. You know why you have to acknowledge the problem? The main reason why you have to acknowledge the problem, no matter what, is because now you can go and you can talk with God. You can pray with God with a purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
If you just turn the blind eye to it, it's to be like, yo, I'm getting attacked. You know, I want you to think about it from this perspective. Like, if you're in a war, right? If you're in a war and you see a tank is throwing bombs, you know, at your camp, right? If you disregard it, does it change the fact they still throwing bombs? Like, I disregard it, so they're just going to turn around and they're just going to leave, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. They're attacking you because there's a purpose behind why they're attacking you. So you don't disregard it. What you do is you say, okay, does my commander-in-chief want me to fight back? If my commander-in-chief wants me to fight back, has he given me the tools to be able to fight back, right? And if the answer to either one of those is no, it's like, does he want me to fight back? No. Okay. So let him do what he's going to do. If he says, yeah, I do want you to fight back, but you find you don't have the stuff to be able to fight back, now you can go to that commander in chief and be like, yo, how do you want me to fight this? Because you're telling me to go fight that tank, but how am I going to fight it? Because I can't go with with some rocks and just go throw it, unless you're telling me to do something specific with these rocks. I think like David and Goliath kind of deal, right?
Hmm.
But he might come and say, it's not your battle. It's, check it out. I know that you might be on the forefront and you might be receiving the attack, but I got some F-15s to take care of that. I don't want you to handle it. Go relax. You know that the attack is coming, but I'm letting you know I'm going to take care of it. I just called the F-15s to come throw some missiles at that tank. That tank is done. It doesn't even know that it's done, but it's done. You know what I'm saying? And big difference between the two. But you were able to come and say, hey, I see the attack. What we going to do?
Acknowledgement. I want to go ahead and take the attacks. Something came to mind when you were mentioning. And it has to do with disregarding, acknowledging. I don't know how many people here has dealt with anxiety, right? I feel like most of us have, right? At least the majority, at different levels, right? Some more severe than others. But when you get an anxiety attack, I'm not sure how many people has dealt with anxiety attacks. That's major. And they say that an anxiety attack is close to a heart attack.
Yeah, it's no joke. It's no
without,
joke.
Excluding the heart, right? So your heart is still pumping, thank God, healthy and everything, but you're experiencing the same thing someone having a heart attack would. Now, what happens in that process? I've seen a few hearts there. That means that, there's been someone or people that has dealt with anxiety attacks. Correct me if I'm wrong, and listen carefully. What happens when you're having that anxiety attack, because I had 5 last year, for the first time ever in my life. The first time was scary because I was actually I was in Target. I was actually in Target. And when it was happening, I'm like, man, this is like a first time. What's going on? I'm over here thinking my sugar level dropped. I'm thinking, man, maybe I didn't eat enough, or maybe what I ate wasn't good enough. And because I've been eating so good, maybe I shouldn't be eating this crap. Whatever it is.
I thought I was having a full-blown heart attack the one time it happened to me.
Yeah. So when I was going through that attack, man, I can say that those 5 times were horrible. And something that I noticed, that there were so many thoughts in that time that were just racing through. And I was thinking about one thing and then thinking about the other, thinking about one thing, thinking about the other. It almost felt as if I was going from anxiety to depression, anxiety, depression, all through this anxiety attack. Because there's many things that we do in life, starting from young, that catches up to us. And there's a lot of things that maybe we haven't even apologized. There's a lot of things that we haven't faced. There's things that we can't even go back and approach it. And not because the person isn't here, or like physically, not because of that. Because you might have apologized and that wasn't enough. So it's still hitting you. It can be a number of things. But what I do know is that when those thoughts were racing, I'm like, man, I didn't realize. That's when I started learning about subconsciousness. That there's a lot of things that we have there that come up in moments like those anxiety attacks. Whatever it is that you're going through on your day-to-day, or that you're handling, it doesn't have to be bad. It could be bad or good. But there's storage, that our mind is so powerful. There's storage there that eventually it'll come right back up. And in the worst time, for example, the anxiety attacks.
Yep.
And I just started feeling bad about a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not everything, things that we've done, even things that were done to us. And then you start thinking like, man, am I getting a heart attack? Like, is my sugar level dropping? Is this it for me? Because I could just go ahead and forgive that person or those people. It's so many thoughts that run through your mind. It might be different. I'm telling you my experience, but it might be different for others. That's why I would love to hear what, if anyone, if they feel comfortable with saying it, how they felt when they were going through the anxiety attacks. But I know it was horrible for me, and it was 5 of them. It was nothing easy, man.
Well, I'll share real quick with mine. It's funny because then I think about it, and it's
I
something that I've
wouldn't wish
always
that on anyone.
it was something that I've always, struggled with, has been the perception, like always, what is somebody else going to think? You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? And I remember for
me
mine, the
too.
one time I had it, you know, uh, I think it was just a few years ago. I was like in my early 30s, I think, and it was like, not only was I in my early 30s, but it's like physically I was fit. I remember the last time that I got my physical done, um, the weight hadn't dropped much. It had dropped, but it hadn't dropped much. But the body fat percentage was like, even they were like, wow, like, what have you been doing? And I was just like, no, I just been exercising more often. I think I was doing like P90X at the time. I was, playing
Oh,
ball like 2 times a week and everything. And it was like the body fat percentage had dropped like drastic, you know? And I
wow.
remember that I was at church, and
Playing ball for sure. Playing ball
yeah,
for
I
sure.
mean, just the activity, And I remember there was, when you think about it from a logical perspective, there was no reason for me to think anything was wrong with me. But I remember that I was there, I was helping them do a stream of a youth service or whatever. It was like early on when I started helping and whatever. And I remember that I was sitting there, and I think what had really happened was I had my elbow on a table, like just like the edge of the table was hitting my elbow in the right spot, and all of a sudden I felt a pain in my elbow, and I remember I was just there and I had it, and I was like, yo, I wasn't really thinking about it, but I went to the worst. I started overthinking. So the two things that I always struggled with was overthinking and what somebody else thinks. And I remember it was like, why is my arm hurt? Not thinking that my elbow was on the thing. And I was like, my arm probably hurts. I don't know why it hurts. And I'm not even 100% sure that it hurts. And then I start thinking, yo, did my arm go numb? And my arm didn't go numb, but in thinking about my arm going numb,
It went numb.
it started to feel numb. And then I was like, hold up. I remember seeing on social media,
A
you
stroke.
know, like I remember seeing on social
A
media that
stroke.
that when it's a certain arm is feeling numb or whatever, it could be a sign of a heart attack. Come on, bro. You're talking about like a 32 or 33-year-old dude like thinking about heart attacks. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Like, chances of that real slim, especially if you're, doing exercise and everything. And it was like, but it was still manageable, right? But the point in which it became unmanageable, there got to be a point in which I started to think, yo, what if this is a heart attack? I'm going to have a heart attack here? And what are people going to think if I start having a heart attack here? Oh my gosh, this is going to be so embarrassing. And I'm already imagining the ambulance coming, and I could see myself being like stretchered away in an ambulance, and people looking at me funny, like, what's wrong with this dude and all that stuff. And it got to the point where I was like, when you got a heart attack, you probably can't breathe, right? And all of a sudden, I started to feel like I couldn't breathe. And I had to get to the point that I had to step out the building and take a breath and just like take those deep breaths and just relax and just relax and just relax and just relax. And eventually it went away. And it was a thing of like, I know that wasn't a heart attack. And I remember I had to go like like 2 days later. Um, I went to to one of the doctors where I had gotten physical done. And I was like, yo, yeah, I just had this happen. I just need your intake on it. Like, what do you think? What's on your mind? Like, what do you think it could have been? And they were like, all right, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm looking at your chart. there's definitely nothing wrong with you. There's no reason for you to think where I had gone my physical done, they would do preventative health. So they were like, come on, bro, we like do preventative health here. There's definitely not anything that would have been like a red flag. You know what I'm saying? Your body fat percentage was great. You're being active. Could you cut certain things out your diet? Absolutely. But is this a cause for concern? She's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think you just had a full blown panic attack. A full blown panic attack. So let me let you know that's what a panic attack feels like. If it
Mm-hmm.
happens in the future, know that that's what it is. And what you need to do is just chill. But
Yeah,
you got to
that
think like what was causing it? The biggest thing that was causing it was the moment that I thought about the perception of what other people were going to think. That's where like that was the cherry on top. That's where the whole thing started falling down.
the stress, the worries, all that stuff. Like we just have to stop, you know.
Yeah,
And again, easier said than done, right? But
absolutely.
what we can do is instead of waiting for these attacks to happen, you know, from now, what I did at the time it was meditating. I would meditate as soon as I wake up, right? Right in bed. I'll meditate, and then I even had to like switch the diet, and not much, but at the time, like especially throughout the pandemic, it did get a little different, right? Because I would eat like more fast food than usual, and I know that did affect me a lot. But I had to change that, and as soon as I did it, I haven't experienced one since. So I say instead of waiting for something like that to happen in order to make those changes, it's good that we're discussing it or to hear it from someone else. This way we can start applying it from now, you know, to take care of ourselves from now. Don't worry about other people's perception, right?
Yep.
What they think of you or what they think about your decisions or whatever it is. Don't worry about that. Just do you, you know, just do you. Because that experience was horrible, man. It was I don't wish that on anyone, and I hope I don't ever have to go through it. In fact, what I started doing is working out, and it's been great. I can feel the difference. Something that I noticed as well is when I would actually have those times when I got the attacks, I would feel more attacks coming when I would have a conversation with someone. It was around that time period, you know, that I was, I guess, weak. You know, it was probably like high levels of stress. Like I said, you know, the food, the nutrition that I was consuming it wasn't great. But even when I would have a conversation, I wasn't able. Like my eyes would hurt, and I can't focus. You know, because I like to look at someone in the eyes whenever we're talking, give them that respect. I couldn't even do that. Like I had to look away.
Dang.
It was that bad. You know what I'm saying? Because of what I had going on up here. You know, um, it also had to do with the sleep. Remember, I was sleeping a lot less because I was so focused on the grind that I was like, you know what? I got to make sure that I build this safety net. You know, these are hard times. I've been blessed. Let me just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going until I can't no more. That thought right there just took me to those attacks, man. You know, but but yeah, it was tough. It was tough. So anyone that has ever gone through it or hasn't gone through it, but they feel like they're super stressed, start reducing those levels. Don't wait for it. Start meditating. You know, do your little workouts, whether it's at home, you know, get a little membership in the gym. Take out time for you. You know, even if it's time to just or make sure to get the right amount of sleep. Even that helps.
That plays a big
You
part.
know what I mean?
A big
Tell
part.
yourself, you know what, I'm gonna get 6 to 8 hours of sleep and put that in your head and make it happen on a daily basis to get a minimum because we most of us have a lot of responsibilities, right? I say we all do. And it makes it nearly impossible for some of us to get the right amount of sleep, but we should actually focus on doing so. You know, if you work and go to school, uh, why not fall asleep early and wake up early? At least you get your 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and then when you wake up to do your work, you have a fresh mind, clean to get your day started versus being up all day and doing the work late at night to then still have to wake up early. Now, not only are you draining, but you're also losing. sleep at the same time. So, you know, it's those little things. It's those little things that are huge.
And again, a lot of that goes hand in hand with not worrying about tomorrow and all of, that whole
Yeah.
thing, because a lot of those things that will impact you, where it's like you lack the motivation to do something, lack the motivation to go to the gym, lack the motivation to cook something up, a lot of times is because of the stress levels that you take, that you take on, all these things that you take on that rob you of your joy and your peace. And you're just like, I don't really want to cook right now. Like, I don't feel like it. So I'm going to just go pick something up real quick at McDonald's. I'm going to order a pizza. You know what I'm saying? That affects you, that will affect you. Or I'm just going to stay up watching Netflix, and that blue light is for real. That thing will keep you up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many of y'all probably hit the bed finally at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then all of a sudden you're like, God, I'm just gonna look at my social media real quick and doing this. Next thing you know, it's 3:30 in the morning, and you still ain't go to sleep, but you have to be up at 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't take care of those things. Look at the root of why you're doing it. It'll hit you hard. It'll hit you real hard. Gotta really evaluate it. Take care of yourself. But a lot of times, find the root. A lot of times, the root will be you possibly worrying about a lot of things that, in reality, is out of your control, and God doesn't want you to be worrying about it. So definitely, find the root. Ask God to reveal to you the root of the issue.
And also mentioning how we were talking about worrying less, I want to take it back to like the youth, right? For anyone that's watching that has kids, because we've been discussing how most of us work and then we focus on our business after the job, right? Most of us are full-time entrepreneurs, right? And still that's draining, because when you're a full-time entrepreneur, you don't have an 8-hour shift. You don't have 12-hour shift. Sometimes it's 16. Sometimes it might be 20, depending on what you got going. But then, of course, you work out your schedule throughout the week. Either way, it's draining, right? So why am I bringing that up, and why did I bring the youth up right before I said that? It's very important to let the youth decide what it is that they want to do, to hear them out, what it is that they have passion for, what it is that they have in mind, like what is it that they want to create? Do they want to go to school? Capital K, what's going on, man? Love and respect, bro. All thoughts don't deserve attention. 100%, I agree. Love you, bro. Love you, man. I'm proud of you, man. I'm happy to see everything you got going on. Everything you got going on, man. God bless. So whatever they have in mind, we have to talk to them. Why? Maybe we shouldn't focus on leading them to college right away. I say that even for my child, what I want to do is I want to reduce the amount of stress. How is that? It's like, you know what? If she can live under our roof for as long as she wants to create a business, maybe she doesn't want college. Maybe she wants to create a business. Then have her do that. Because what we don't want is for her to regret that in the future. Like, oh, she ends up going to college because that's what she thinks mom and dad wants. But then again, she ends up taking another path, right? And now we're having her work a full-time job and having to create her own business. That's more stress. When from the beginning, you just give her that freedom, and it's like, look, as long as you're doing the right thing, figure it all out. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about much. Bills are paid, or set up a fund for her. Like, and they don't even have to know this. Set up a little fund to where you can actually support it eventually. From now, you can actually build that for them in the future. And I'm a believer in that, because I know how I felt growing up. And man, I was blessed growing up. I had everything, everything. I was spoiled, everything was great. But at the same time, I felt like, man, I couldn't really make that decision to where, you know what, I don't really want school. We have to be ready for that conversation with our kids, because if I felt like that, there's a chance that our children are going to feel like that. And if they don't, then definitely. Hey, it's just keeping that communication. Whatever route they pick, it's just being supportive and being well prepared moving forward. That way they don't have to go through the same, what's the saying, Carlos? So they can go over the puddles, right? They don't have to go through the same like issues that we went through,
Right.
or if they do, because we never know. If they do, at least they'll know how to handle it. It's the most important thing.
And I like what you said right now about the savings. I know that it's difficult for people to have like multiple kids, but I just want to real quick just put something into perspective for y'all. A lot of times, I think for most of us, we could think, $20 in a week, right? For a lot of people, there's some way that you can make a sacrifice to make those $20 work. You know what I'm saying? It's more difficult if you have multiple kids, but if you got one, it's just to give you a perspective, because some of y'all might say, no, I can make $60 work if I got 3 kids, or I can make $40 work if I got 2 kids.
Yeah.
But it's all a matter of perspective and to see what you could do. But if you have a steady income, I just want to kind of put it into perspective, from a numbers perspective. If you were to put in $20 a week, when you're talking about like the little fund that you're doing for, like for your daughter, hey, I could do a little fund for my daughter. If you did $20 a week over 52 weeks, and you did it until, let's just say that you're going to do it until they decide to finish school or something, whatever it is that they're doing, till they're 21, and just keep it on the low. Like, you don't even know that I'm going to do it for you. Bro, that's $22,000. Mind you might not even, you might even choose to put it in a fund that's going to pay you interest or do something with it. You know what I'm saying? Where it's going to, where it's going to increase. So it's like, imagine the head start that you could be giving your kid if you go, they go, oh man, okay, like I'm finally going to be on my own. I want to make some moves. And it's a thing like, yo, have you thought about getting yourself a little apartment so it's yours, or a little house so it's yours? Yeah, but where am I?
A down payment.
Yeah, but where am I going to get the money for the down payment? How about this? I got 22 G's for you right now. Boom. There you go. It's like they have a down payment and a half. Again, it's all dependent on how you look at things, but it's, just a little bit of financial literacy for y'all there, not just some God word, but some financial literacy. Because sometimes you could just ask God for the direction and give him, ask the resources and, ask for the resources. And it's just a matter of looking at what he can give you. I know a lot of times it's not possible, but it's just putting into perspective, because even if you were to say, yo, all I can do is $10 for my kid, you know what I'm saying? That's cool. When you end up doing it again over the span of, let's say, 21 years, that's still 11 G's. I think a lot of people could do $10. You know what I'm saying? But it's a matter of perspective. This is a key, not just in financial literacy, but in so many areas of your life. Because when we think like, yo, but I know that I need to make this change in my life, and how am I going to make that change all in one step, all in one shot? That's why a lot of times God wants you to work in those baby steps, and he's going to work with you on it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because a lot of times overnight change is not sustainable, but baby steps, he can start to change your habits.
And that applies to everything, man. Baby steps.
Everything in your life.
Yeah. It's what we learn along the way. Baby steps for everything. Baby steps for everything. For sure. Let me see who we got. So I think today, let's see if there's anyone in the chat. If I didn't miss anything. No, I didn't miss anything. All right. So this was pretty much like we were basically touching a number of topics that all connected. And like always, just a boost to keep us going. I feel like what we're trying to do here is to make sure that every episode is that support, for one another. Eventually what we would want is for people to engage, go ahead and jump in and engage in the conversation. If there's anything that, they want us to discuss or to bring up, feel free to drop it in the chat at any time. Or if you just want to bring it up yourself, you can always join us. But the whole purpose is to definitely give each other that support that we need. Because believe it or not, we all need it, regardless of how
Absolutely.
things are going. If you feel like, life is great, that's a beautiful thing. God bless. And, may it continue to be that way. But there's going to be that one time or that one day that you still need some type of push, advice, um, just to keep us going, because we're all blessed. The fact, again, that we're breathing, we're blessed. The fact that we're here, we're super blessed. The fact that we're able to discuss this with you all, to everyone who's watching, super blessed to do that. People who engage and testify, that's a super blessing. But we never have it all figured out, because even me on a day-to-day basis, man, I need that extra push, because you never know when I have moments where I'm just like drained, and that one or two words that you give me, it's like it gives me that extra push, that extra boost for the next few days or weeks. We all got to appreciate that. That's what this platform is all about. So if you felt that, if you felt everything that's been discussed, if you've been feeling everything that we've been discussing, even in the past episodes, just drop a heart in the chat. Drop a heart. Let me go ahead and drop a heart myself. Let me go ahead and drop a heart for Pastor Carlos. Let me go ahead and drop a heart for everyone. Ren, I see you. Julie, I see you.
Drop one for y'all as well. Much appreciated with everybody.
For sure.
None of us are immune to any of this
Not
stuff.
at all.
I
see mommy
but
there.
most definitely, it it's just helping you to build y'all up. It builds y'all up and it helps to build us up as well. So
big time.
There'll be much much more. But for real, I just want to declare blessing on each person that's here, and of course, we want you to be, our wish, of course, would be that you're immune to all these things that we've been talking about. But we know wish and reality is two completely separate things. So that's where we switch our focus into just declaring that, like, when you go through it, if you go through it, when that time comes, just that the peace of God is with you, that you get to feel that his presence is with you, guiding you through it, that like he hasn't left your side. And a lot of times you're going to feel that with something that's unexplainable. And other times it's going to be he puts the right people there to let you know, this person's here and they really care about me. That's got to be God through them showing out that I'm not alone. You know what I'm saying? So we just,
Amen.
We just give thanks, because we know that for a lot of y'all, especially in what we hear in testimony sometimes, I know that God has used us to be able to speak to you, to let you know that he hasn't forgotten about you, to let you know that his presence is there with you. But in case you haven't known it, some of you guys sharing what you've shared, or the messages that you send, whether it's here while we're on, or whether it's
even
through a DM or whatever, or the
yeah.
questions you send, it ends up being confirmation and realization that, we're human. We go through the stuff as well, but God has not forgotten it. Because even for us, sometimes it could feel like, yo, God, where are you at? You know what I'm saying? Where are you at? And I know that we're not immune to it, because Jesus himself had that moment where he was like, Father, why have you forsaken me? Like, that was a father, where you at? Like, why have you let me, be crucified? Where you at? And it's like, if he went through it, know that we're not immune to it either. But that he hasn't left. That he hasn't left. So sometimes with your guys' comments as well, it's something that helps to push us forward as well. So I give thanks to y'all, and I just pray that you guys always feel that presence, that that he's with you. And in those short moments where where you feel that he's not, I just pray that you get the quick realization that he is, that somebody gives you that timely message that you need to receive, where it's like, yo, but nobody's with me. And then God quickly responds, whether it's his voice or it's his voice being heard through somebody else that speaks to you. that you get to know that he's with you. So, I just declare that over you in Jesus' name, and the blood of
Amen.
Jesus be
Amen.
over you guys, your households and everything. Because I know that he's doing something. And Jules, saying that she's starting her new job this weekend. Super excited. I bless you in your job. And God's opened the
Yes.
door for that
Yes.
job. I just want to declare blessing upon blessing upon blessing, that job is going to be something that's going to bless your life, that he's going to bless you abundantly in that job for you to be able to receive that blessing that he has for you in that place, that people are going to be blessed by your very presence of being in that place, that they're going to know that there's something different about you because you are a child of the Most High that is walking with you. You are a daughter of God. You're a daughter of the King, a sister of Jesus who's taking care of you in that spot. People are going to know that there's something different about you being there, and that what he blesses you with in that workplace is going to be something that that is going to impact the lives of others. I just want to declare that blessing over you in Jesus' name, over your job. That even those that are employing you are going to be blessed by your presence being there and see an increase, that they're going to know that there's something about you, about the God that is with you, that is blessing their job, and they're not going to be able to deny that his presence in that workplace, in Jesus' name, over your life, over that job.
Amen. I felt that. Congrats, Julie Jules. Congrats. I felt that. I second that. That was deep. Who else? Well, I guess this is it, guys, for tonight. This is it. But we will be back next week. Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific
West
Time.
Coast. Yep.
West Coast, yeah. So again, we appreciate all of you for joining us. Corinne, Julie Jules, Sally, Mommy, thank you. Dad was on. There was a few people that were on. For all that are watching on YouTube, make sure you link with us again every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Don't miss it, and set up a notification. I know on my page I always set up the little notification right under the post, or it's actually on the post bottom left corner. And there's times when I put it in the story as well. And you do have the option to click just to get a reminder. Jadira, what's up, cuz? What's up? Love you, Prima. How you been?
Good, Prima. God bless you.
We seen how big Alex is getting, man. They showed us a picture of Alex, man. It's crazy.
Crazy how time goes. Growing. Absolutely.
Yeah, God bless you all. Gracias, mami. Bendición, mami. Again, Sally, Corinne,